Hello and welcome to another class training video concerning the printout templates. We're over here again under Tools, Printout Templates, and here is the overview screen. And I'm going to assume you're editing a copy of a default template such as the service one. Please review the other videos and prior tutorials if you're not too sure what I'm talking about at the moment, but let's go ahead and continue to edit the same template I've been using in the prior examples by left clicking on this button here, and it is now open. And for whatever reason, let's say what the topic of this video is covering is the calculated fields. So these are fields with some smarts attached to them, with some logic attached to them in terms of the data they will display. Like there's quite a bit of basic programming that you can sort of drop into the logic behind these fields, so you can get some interesting results. But in this example, let's say for whatever reason, this design of a question, of a data item interests you, using the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander status field in class as an example. Here are all the options. I took a screenshot. But let's say, obviously when you're working with a printout template, it's a good idea to design it first elsewhere. This is a program called Inkscape, but you might have, let's just say, a Word template you work off, but go ahead and do that before you start working inside of the printout template designer. And let's say this is your sort of achieved goal, or what you want to achieve. You basically just want a display of all the options in your printout for this particular field. I imagine you'd have a few of these fields designed this way, and you only want one of them to be crossed, not all of them, based on the actual data for the service itself. And this is possible. A bit strange, but I will advise against actually doing this kind of design, though I do understand a lot of you may be interested in it because it is quite time consuming. So it's 5 minutes per checkbox. So you can imagine how this will build up in terms of time really, really quickly if you have a few of these on your printout template. So just use it sparingly. That's all I'll say for now in terms of that. So let's go ahead and do this in the actual UI. So let's drag a new label down here, left click, hold and drag, and see status. And for the sake of time, I am not going to worry about styling this too much. Maybe I'll just make the text bold. So appearance, font, bold. Okay. And I will now drag in a XR checkbox. And this will be the no. And I will go down here, checkbox, and start using a naming convention of sorts just to better find my way in the template or report explorer itself. Now it would be a good idea, let's say if I had any styling, let's say I wanted these to be 11 point Arial for whatever reason, not Comic Sans hopefully, but Arial. Now I can copy this and hopefully paste it. Yes, by left clicking off it, I can now press paste, and I'm going to assume it's sitting here, so I'm going to drag this off. It's probably pasted somewhere, somewhere quite strange, so there it is. It was worth trying. Let's just avoid doing that. Let's instead use our other little hack, which is to create a new style and name it a checkbox style. And what did we say? We said 11-point Arial bold, and we want the text to be sort of left center or middle left. Cool. And that is our checkbox style. Hit the enter key. And for example, we can now apply it here and on any future ones. And this was the unknown option. And rather than going for that paste option, let's just drag a new one in and instead use the style here. And this will be yes Aboriginal for the text. Pardon me. And I will left click and drag on the bounds here. And get another one. And I will say yes. TSI, Torres Strait Islander. Style shortcut. And for this, we said we were going to do a naming convention. Just to keep things consistent. Just for the sake of our future selves, we'll take a bit of care in how we input these, and the final option was both. Let's have a look at our design. Okay, we had this one first for whatever reason, and this one holding down the mouse and snapping to the grid lines. Now we have a yes both. So let's drag yet another checkbox in, and let's say yes both. And the naming convention, maybe it's a good idea to sort of, I wish I had two monitors for this, but I don't, so maybe it's a good idea to have two monitors, just so I can have these sort of off screen in terms of what naming convention I'm using, so I can remain consistent. And don't forget to apply our little style instead of copying and pasting, because it did something weird. But yes, so there is our design. Not going to worry about this line, or maybe I will. So we can see it's the border dash tile solid, and it's selected at the bottom here for this sort of header here. So why don't we go to this @C status and use another style. No, not that one. We'll oh, hang on, that's the default name it comes out with, so let's call this the section header and hit enter, and we'll say the text appears at the bottom left. We'll say that the font size, what is this? It's Calibri Light, 13 points, and it's this color. I'm gonna Control C or right click, copy it, and I'll come here I'll go into my style, I'll open the font, and I think it was here, the background color. Paste it. Hopefully that works. Gee, I can't really see. But anyway, we want the border at the bottom here. And let's make the border the same color. Let's make this 13 points. And hitting enter key every time I change things. Hopefully it'll just update. I don't remember what font it was. I think it was Arial, but whatever. I'll just pick this and make it bold. And oh, we should definitely name this as the header style. Okay. And then if I now drag this out to here, it should have placed the border. Yeah, section header. This, oh right, the border width is 1 and it is solid. Okay. So it is playing up a bit. I still have the color on my clipboard. So, oh dear. It's the font we wanted. 13 points. No, not 2, 13, please. Arial, bold. And perhaps over down here, the foreground color is, yes, finally, the text color itself has changed. Okay. Okay, getting a bit sidetracked there, but at least we have the line, at least we have an idea of that. So if I applied my style there, oh dear. This has just lost the plot, hasn't it? Dear, oh dear. Okay. Okay, getting a bit sidetracked there. How much time have we spent here? 12 minutes. Goodness. My apologies. So, the field itself is a client information, so Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders. So let's left click on this part here from the field list. And let's click this last button here called the Add Calculated Field. And we'll edit it now. And we'll call this the @no. The display name will be @no. Field type. Now this is where some basic programming knowledge is going to come in handy. But I'll try to explain it as best I can. This is a tick box, so it has 2 values, on or off, 1 or 0, yes or no, and another way of saying that is a Boolean value. The data member is the client information, and the expression, again, programming stuff, but just basically follow the convention I'm going with here. And I will say it is worth you being a class administrator if you're going to be making these kind of customizations to Printout Templates. So I will click the 3 dots here, and here we are. We will program this. We will say I, capital I, lowercase I, if, and then we'll double click on this. And then I guess don't worry too much, just sort of follow along with me exactly. But let's pretend you're setting this up for your own field. So you just sort of scroll here under the field list and look for it. If it was a custom field, you know, it'll be CF something. But in our case, it's going to be this. We're going to double click it, and now we're going to put a bit of logic here. We're going to say if this field for the service in the database is equal to 2 equal signs, again, programming stuff, and not quotations, we want the single quotes, and we just want to say no. and we want to say 1, 0. So all this is saying, in plain English, is if the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander status is no, we should be ticked. This box should be ticked, and if it is not no, it shouldn't be ticked. That's about as succinct I can explain it at this stage, but we'll hit OK. And we have completed the first sort of tick box here. So let's left click on the no field here. The no checkbox, and edit the properties with the pencil, and go with our naming convention, not a valid name. Why would that be the case? You don't like it, really? So that must mean I had something named similar. I'll clean that up later. But the check state is the same as here. It's the same thing as the data binding, but it's sort of what appears when you have a checkbox. So the check state is the calculated field we just made, and that is going to be under the client information, @C status no, and we have completed one field. You can see what I mean by 5 minutes per checkbox. So let's try and run a bit faster. Let's hit the save button there, so we don't have to do that again. And pardon me, now that we'll say we're an administrator, because it definitely helps in this instance, we'll go to the types and categories here. So system settings, types and categories, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander status, export to CSV, open it. The reason I'm doing this is, because we are doing a bit of programming logic, we do want these to be exact matches. So let's say the next one we want to make is yes Aboriginal. We want the text to be exact, so let's Control C and copy that. Jump back into the template, into the data source, left click here, add the calculated field, edit it, name it, same convention, but yes. Display name, @C, yes, Aboriginal. Field type, Boolean, again, ones and zeros, yeses and nos. Expression, same as before. It might help if you just put a template of sorts in a notepad, but it's equal to the value I just got out of Excel, yes Aboriginal, 1, 0, and to save me time in the future I'll highlight all of this, open up a notepad and paste it in there, and I'll hit OK. So we've completed the yes Aboriginal field, so let's go down here and let's edit this. Check state is in the data source under the client information, and we're looking for @C Aboriginal yes. There it is. Done. Unknown, same deal. You can see how repetitive and time consuming this can become. So again, use this kind of design for your printout templates very sparingly. Same naming convention. Ones and zeros. When you rename it, it does sort of move it into alphabetical order, so it may jump around. And we'll jump back into our thing here. Control A on the keyboard, Control C, Control V, shortcuts, and we're going to highlight everything in between these single quotes and backspace it and look for the exact value in class which is the mapped to field here, and we'll copy it. And with Control C, Control V, okay, unknown is done. Go into the detail view, and instead of no, let's name this accurately. It's actually the unknown field. And the check state, again, open, client information, unknown, done. Yes, Torres Strait Islander, again, data source, again, client information, add calculated field, scroll to calculated field, hit the pencil, name the thing, @C underscore TSI, @C TSI, keep it consistent. It'll rearrange itself, but we will track it down and say Boolean expression. Open your notepad, Control C, minimize it, Control V, open your Excel, look for yes TSI, highlight, Control C, highlight everything in between the single quotes, Control V, okay, completed, back to the report view, back to the TSI, edit it, drop down again, expand the thing, look for the client information again, and this time we're looking for our TSI field. There, done. Now yes for both. Let's go ahead and repeat the process. And again, click here, edit the calculated field we just made. Use the naming convention to make our lives easier. Whoops, and that's going to move it somewhere near the top of these because it's alphabetical order. Pick Boolean. Open our notepad, Control C, Control V. Open our Excel, Control C and Control V, except on the both field here. And entering paste. For some of you, it might do this. It might include the line break. Make sure that doesn't happen. Just backspace it and make sure it's all on one line. In terms of everything in between the quote, because if it looks like this, it's not going to work. Control Z to undo that. Double check it looks okay. Okay. @C both is done. So here, editing, check state, again, we are going into the client information, both, save. And now, I suppose let's go test if this actually works. So I'll close this off, and close. And I will go to a class service. I will press S. I will open this one again, testing data, so don't worry. Wait for it to load. Check this person's @C status. Maybe on their client record, so I'll click the little hyperlink there. And, you know, maybe I'll actually enter something. They are both. And their date of birth is unknown, just to save time. Okay, looks like we've got a couple of required fields that we've been testing or playing around with. I think that's a custom field there. Oh, they're children, so that might be, you know, one you want to design for. But let's press this is the service, so let us print it. And not necessarily my service template, we want the service printout for legal advice. Wait for it to load. So we can see @C is both Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander, but if we go to our specially designed question, which is on page 2. Dear oh dear. It has not worked.
So I tracked down the issue. It's actually the fact that this is how the both field appears in class in the record itself. And if we jump over into the printout template and just have a look at the both field under the field list here, the client information and both. Let's make sure it's pointing to the SQL data source as well. But if we click the ellipsis, how it exported in Excel was like this, and how we need it to be is like this for it to actually properly pick that up. I'm not going to save because we've tracked down the issue already, and I sort of, here's one I prepared earlier sort of thing. We did it off screen. So now let's just quickly demo that the both selection is working for this client, for the service printout for legal advice, both on the usual field, and yes, both is ticked. So that concludes the training video for now. Have a great day.